Welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast, your safe space to finally focus on YOU. I'm Twitty-Hawkins, your self-care coach for moms, praying wife, and mom of four. And I know that being a Christ-centered mom is such a beautiful calling, but it can be so draining. That's why it's important to make sure you are filling your own cup. On this podcast, we'll discuss practical, holistic self-care strategies to help nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Because a mama who fills her own cup pours that back into her family with true peace and joy. Tune in for honest conversations about motherhood and self-care because you matter too. Blessings, mamas, and welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I'm Twitty-Hawkins, your host and self-care coach for moms. And today I have with me special guest, Shannon Coulter. Welcome.
Hi, Cherry. Thank you so much for having me on with you today. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Me too. I'm excited for this conversation. We're going to be talking about things that our kids can do to help us to have some more time for self-care. You know, sometimes we might feel a little guilty because our kids are on the screen so much, or maybe we don't know what they're watching, and that may be a concern. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how Shannon can help us with that.
That is an excellent introduction. Yeah, that's exactly why I started doing what I'm doing. When I was a younger mom, I'm actually a stepmom. So I have 3 bonus children. I like to call them bonus children, and they are much older now. So they're not children anymore. They're 27, 26, and 22. But when I met them, they were 4, 8, and 10. And I walked into this world of these little kids to me, and I told them to go out and play. And they came back in 5 minutes later and told me they didn't know what to do. And I was floored. So I think that was back in 2008. And I was, at the time, I was in corporate America and I was a wellness coach. So I did all sorts of things in my consulting, but one of the big things I was doing at the time was wellness. So we would go into different companies and do these things called health incentive programs. So people would go, do a 5K, or they do something else that the company suggested, and then they get points and they get rewards for them. And I was really finding joy in doing that. And at the same time, I meet these 3 adorable little children, and I learned that they don't know how to play, and I got really concerned about it. So part of what I did was research. So I started researching that, and it was an epidemic that was happening throughout the world as kids were more on screens. And I made this up myself, but I called it the imagination muscle that was atrophying. And so, the less you use your imagination, the less it's going to create for you. So I loved what you said in our introduction, is because the kids would come to me, and I was 31 at the time. So if you want to do the math now, you know how old I am, but it's fine. But I would give them a couple ideas, and then I would kind of run out of ideas because I'm an adult. And I was getting kind of frustrated that they didn't come up with more stuff. So I'd either go on Google, and there was Google and Pinterest, a couple things at the time, and there'd be so much information that I'd be overwhelmed. And I say this with love, but not joking. Pinterest was full of so much perfect stuff. I was like, I can't. Just take this and do this perfectly. Have you seen the show or heard of the show Nailed It on Food Network? Okay, that was me with crafts. I was like, I can't do this. So I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? But then when I wanted time alone, which moms need, adults need, what did I do? I would put them back on the screens. And then I start this vicious cycle of their imagination atrophying again. So I'm going, we've got to stop this. And so back then in 2008, there's a long story. We can shorten it and talk about it, why I'm coming back out with it now. But I decided to create a tool for myself and other parents that was in your hand, automatic off-screen activities that worked with an app. But back then there wasn't apps, but it worked that you could look it up, and this software gives you all these ideas, very simple. And I tied them all to points to motivate the kids to do them. Right. And the rewards that the parents would give would be things you give your kids anyway. So it's just kind of an incentive. So if your kids want to stay up 5 minutes late, or they want to sit by dad during movie night, that's the reward. They're just super simple things that will drive your kids. And this incentive to do it is, oh my gosh, play, which they want to do anyway. So that was the idea behind it. We can fast forward 17 years. The reason that dropped is because we came out with, I left corporate America. My husband and I put this company together called Planet Fassa. I'll explain why if you want to know. But we put that together, and we came out with a website when apps came. So that was about 2012. So we were either going to build up all this money again to build an app because it was much more expensive back then. And at the same time, we went through this horrible custody thing, and my kids' parents, it sounds really weird, but their mom moved to California And my husband, we lived in Chicago at the time, had to take a job in Indiana. So I ended up as a single stepmom, if you can believe it. So I had these three little children by myself 4 days out of the week, and they needed all my attention, which I couldn't do right by them and be a solo entrepreneur. So I put this to sleep. And I have to tell everybody listening, I thank God for it, because I didn't know him then like I know him now at all. I knew who he was, but I had no relationship with him. And in that next 17 years, I really got to know him, I would say in 2020. I finally understood what born again means. And I started really dreaming about this again, wanting to bring it back to life. And now it's something that I'm coming back out with it now in 2025. Not only do I know him better and I'm representing him better in my products, but I have 17 years of parenting experience that I didn't have back then. So I joke, like, before I had empathy and now I have sympathy. Experience and how it's hard to compete with technology and everything else. And I'm just, the other thing that's interesting is back in 2008, and this is, God works in you and with you even when you don't know it, but what he worked through me, this Planet Fassa, I look back at that now and I said, how did I know? How did I know this was going to be so difficult? So all the things I was worried about in 2008 have come to pass in 2005. So there's books written about the stress this is causing and how we have a lack of play and what it's doing to our children's brains. Not only like, are they showing up differently, but their brains are being rewired. And this is a very serious issue. And I'm so excited to be offering some tools to help parents combat it. So that was a very long drawn out, but that's how we are here in 2005.
Awesome. Okay. So can you give me some examples of specific activities and books that you have?
So we'll go back and I'll explain to you what Planet Fassa means. So the characters in my stories are all cats and dogs that my husband and I have raised and loved and adopted. So it was really cool getting to write biographies for them and figuring out stuff about them. So the main character is Mufasa. But when I developed this, I realized Disney would not like if I called my thing Planet Mufasa. So I changed it to Fassa and I added an S. And it's Planet Fassa because when you and your family come into the world of Planet Fassa, into the planet of Fassa, you're coming into a world of fun, activities, stories, service, and awards. So within that, to get kids interested in wanting to interact with this stuff, I came up with the Fassa Tails, and those are my books. And Tails is Tails, like tales of cats and dogs. And so I'll just kind of tell you about the first one. The first one is just Fassa. It's called Where on Earth Am I? And what I did is I wrote the story and I used lots of words and not that many pictures because I'm starting to get the kids imagining. You know, I wanted them to read and just see a little bit of what's happening so they could picture what was going on. I use a lot of descriptions and stuff. And at the end of the book, I always give a lesson. So the end of that book, it's my persistence has paid off. So the kids kind of see how he gets through that. And then after that, I give 2 plot twists in every single book. So that's for choices and consequences. So the first time that the kids read the story, they see Fassa does this awesome persistence and he gets to this happy ending. Well, in plot twist 1, he makes a bad decision and they're going to learn that the consequence of that is him not getting to the happy ending. So we teach 2 little quick lessons and they have to tell a cheer to him or jump up and down. So they learn if at first you don't succeed, try again, and mind over matter. So it's just quick little things. And then after that, we have 5 activities. And the activities, again, reinforce these lessons that they've learned. What they are also is I have an activity app that's coming out. It's kind of like the website I was telling you about before, but now it's going to be an app for your hands. And these activities are just like the apps or the activities in the app. And so what I'm trying to do is get kids interested in playing with them, interested in the characters. But one of the activities in the first book is called the 5 Senses Scavenger Hunt, because in the story, Fassa's using his eyes, his ears, his senses to figure out where he is. So the kids repeat that. So all the activities are like, Fassa did this, now you can do it. And book 2, Allie did this, now you can do it. And it's getting them up and moving in different ways kids learn. But I think my favorite part of all the activities, they have things to talk about. So we say, your kid did this, here's 2, 3, 4 questions to ask. And it's a great way to prompt parents and even grandparents, whoever's watching the kid, to be able to have a conversation with them. And I like it because I have my values and I can teach your kids some stuff, but I'd rather you have the conversation with your kids and teach them your stories, your values. It's a great way to do that. Eventually, and the reason we started this, I had said to you that my husband's divorced. And when he would get the kids, when we did live by their mom, you know, and every parent has this, but like, how was your day? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I eventually in the app, there will be a village that you can invite in. And when you finish an activity, that village can get a text message and say, I can call, little Shannon and ask her these 4 questions. So grandma can call, aunt and uncle can call, have something to talk about. And even if the kid's being a little bit of a kid, you can be like, well, this is worth 20 points. And they're like, oh, I'll talk to you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. A little manipulation, a little bribing, no. But anyway, when people have given me a hard time about that, like, what's Santa Claus? Like, you're going to be on the naughty list. So that's an idea of the books. Within the book as well, then I have coloring pages. There's a quiz. So I told you there's kind of big words and a lot of words. So I have a quiz where I give 10 words and we give context clues, and the kids can go back and figure out what word it is. And then there's a word search with that and hidden pictures. So it's a very full book, and all the books end in a cliffhanger so that the kids are hopefully inspired to go to the next book. If they got all 7 that I have now, 4 are available as of this day on Amazon. There's 3 more and there'll be much more. But if they got all 7, it would be like reading 1 chapter book. Mm-hmm. But I divided them because there's so much content behind the story that would have been a giant book to be dealing with. So that is the Fassa Tails. And then the app that I was describing, I just got the mock-up yesterday. It is called the Fassa Nuggets of Fun app. And I just wanted to call the activity something silly. So it's the Nuggets of Fun. And why not? And so let's say, Cherry gets home and she's got 4 kids. I know you have 4 kids, and when they were little and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to cook dinner. And they're mom. And they're not stopping bothering you. You don't want to put them on screen. So this is our mom self-care. You can pick up the Fassa Nuggets of Fun app and say, I have 4 kids. I need 30 minutes. They're kind of not being nice to each other. So I want them to do hard activities, because all the activities are mind, heart, and body. I want them to do hard activities. And it will give you 10, 20 activities, and you pick it and you go, kids, you're going to go do that. And if you do it, you get, 200 Fassa points. And you'll get this. And they can either cash that in that day, or they can save them up, and you and your husband can come up with something like huge that they can get. They can go to Dairy Queen or something like that. So that's the app. But it was for them, but it was also for moms, like, hey, leave me alone. And also, as you're doing that, I know you're doing something that's good for your heart, mind, or body. So I don't have to feel bad about it. And also, you're building up your imagination muscle. So then you don't have to ask me what to do. So that's a kind of a win-win there. So that is Planet Fassa.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. See, you're answering the questions I was going to ask you already on this interview. Because I was going to be like, of course, this is a mom self-care podcast. So how does that help? Obviously, and I love how specific it is. I have 4 kids. I need 30 minutes, or I need an hour, or however long. Mm-hmm. And they go and they do those things. So you have time to, like she said, cook dinner, or maybe just enjoy yourself. Time to breathe, to pray, to talk to God, whatever it is. I love that. That is so important. And speaking of that, you use, I believe on your website, it said the term screen light, which I really like. So they're not, heavy on the screens, and they're doing something that's healthy. That's like you said, developing their imagination skills. So how does our children, because we often think we want the best for our kids. And I talk about here on the podcast, one way of doing that is to give the best to ourselves. But speaking to that, the best for our kids, I think this will be very good for them. How does them having healthy habits and learning those things, healthy emotions, ways to use your 5 senses, how does that help us as moms do the same?
I love that question. So as I've been going out and sharing this with lovely people like you, as I've been talking to people, every time I start talking to people, they're like, I need this too. The adults, I need this too. And just before we jumped on here, I was telling Jerry, because of that, it's been such a drive for me. I'm actually starting a class for adults to help them break free from technology as well. And again, I always say this, it's not tech free. It is tech light, because without technology, I wouldn't be with you right now. I wouldn't be talking to all these lovely moms, so it's a good thing. But when we're on it, let's make it be productive. So I also think, so that's one thing that it will be healthy, because I think as our kids start breaking away from it, we'll start breaking away. And I also realize if Planet Fassa and other tools like these are going to work, the kids can't look up and see mom on the phone.
Right.
You have to put the phone down too. They're going to do what you do, not what you say. So that's very important too. But there's also another aspect. So I'm in my 40s. I'm Gen X. It's easier for me to look. It was easier for me, not anymore, because they're in their 20s. But when I had the kids to come up with activities, because I grew up doing them, the 20-something adults right now, the parents, and the 30-somethings, they're not it's not as easy for them to come up with that stuff because they didn't grow up with it. They were on these screens, they were digitized. So that is another thing I think is they're doing this kind of stuff with their kids. They're going to see the joy in it and get the joy out of it too. I'm really excited about them learning how to play as their kids play. But I really do think that leading by example is going to be really good for them. The other thing I always like to point out, I did so much research on imagination for kids. And you said this, without play, kids cannot grow up as socially functional adults. It is proven now. You have to play. You've got to go out there, learn to walk by watching a video. You can't learn empathy, critical thinking by reading in a book. You actually have to go out and do it. So that's really good for the kids. And as they're out there playing, their imagination's going to grow. Well, imagination is just as important for us as it is for our kids. You literally cannot do anything without your imagination. You didn't get dressed this morning without your imagination. You thought about what you're going to put on. You don't go to a restaurant without imagining the food that you're going to have. You don't leave the restaurant and go to your car without your imagination because you got to remember where it was. You don't drive home without your imagination. You got to remember where you're going. And so when people say, oh, I don't have imagination. Oh, you do. I just pointed out all the things that you use for your imagination. And the other thing that really occurs to me, when you pray, you use your imagination. There's no way that you got to believing in Jesus Christ, him dying on the cross, going down and then coming up and going back to heaven. You see him doing that. That is your imagination. When you go and pray, you picture yourself walking into the throne room. However you pray, you are meditating on your word. You cannot do that without your imagination. So that to me was another critical thing for our kids because they need to have that connection as well. So I think that whole thing, the whole thing of us kind of breaking free from screens and getting our feet back on the ground and our heads back in the sun is going to be good for our soul. Mm-hmm. So that's how it will help us moms. And I think also someone asked me if there was a movie that would represent my life, what would it be titled? Like my dream for this. And it was A Street Full of Laughter. And I just want you guys to shut your eyes and think of a street outside your house full of kids laughing. Would that not just make your soul shine? And that's what we're going back for.
Right. I love that. Close your eyes and just imagine. I think about like, y'all know I'm big on TikTok. I love to see the little baby videos with the babies or the toddlers just giggling. It just does something for me.
Yeah. And I say to people all the time, when you think back of your favorite memories when you were a kid, it's never you being on a screen. It's always something you doing, playing, swimming, being with friends. And I say to the parents now that think this is a heavy lift, and it is a heavy lift. We have to do this together, but you would do anything for your kids. So give them the chance to have that kind of memory.
So good.
Yeah, we don't want them digitalized because then they go out into the world. And I know everybody listening to this has met the 20-year-old who can't even look in your eyes right now. And I'm not blaming anyone for that. I have this thing written down here that we just did the largest uncontrolled experiment humanity has ever performed. And we did it on our own children. That was handing them smartphones. So now we know they're bad. So let's take them back. Take them back. Don't give them to the kids until they're like 16 or 18 years old because they don't need them. They do not need them. We have to be more patient with each other. We see mom in the grocery store and little kid having the breakdown, which every one of us has dealt with. And now moms are handing their kids phones. Hey, just give mama a break. Let her calm the kid down because giving that kid the phone is not good for that child because then they can't cope. And then they end up being the kid who can't look in your eyes later. So we just have to be more patient with each other and be like, you can do it.
That's so good. That is so good. You said something there, giving them the screen. And again, not necessarily because we're all learning, but if every time they have a fit or something, you give them a screen, then when they get older, that's the way they're going to deal with things. Right. They're not going to know how to deal with their emotions or whatever in a healthy way.
That's true. And I always joke, but I'm not a neuroscientist, but they have now done research on that. And that actually is changing the kids' brains when you do that. And then they literally can't cope. So there's a physical nature to it as well. And that's the part that we're learning. And I say this and people are like, whoa, but it's like when cigarettes came out and everyone was smoking them and then they figured out how bad they were. And people are like, I really think we need to treat screens like that for kids. Like not hand that to your kid.
Right.
And I know we can do this together. We got into it. We can get back out of it.
Right. It's just a process. Just know it's a process.
Yes. Yeah.
But going back to your books, what age range are they for?
That's a great question. So I always say, I think the sweet spot for this is 6 to 8. But as I've seen kids in this, you know your kids. So kids are all very different. So I've had 4-year-olds who love sitting there and listening to them, and I have 12-year-olds who love them. So it's really what your kid's interested in. I think they're great for 12-year-olds to read to younger siblings, but the sweet spot's definitely 6 to 8.
Okay. And this is something I ask all my guests. What is your favorite form of self-care?
My favorite form of self-care is swimming. I love being in a pool. It's where nothing hurts. So I was in there the other day. We had the family over, I think it was 4th of July, and I was in the shallow end, and my 26-year-old daughter was there, and I was dancing, and I didn't even realize I was dancing. She goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I was dancing." I said, "It doesn't hurt." So, yeah, I just love being in water.
I love being by the water and being in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
nothing hurts. That's so funny. They say that's why that's a good form of exercise. Like you're getting a little bit of resistance and stuff like that, but it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. You know what a physical therapist told me, because fun fact, I'm in physical therapy a lot because things hurt. But he said to me, it's so perfect because you're getting your body's body resistance. So it's perfect for Cherry. It's perfect for Shannon. I didn't even think, I knew it was resistance, but it's my body weight resistance.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Duh. Yeah.
That's good. That's what it is. It's your own body's resistance.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you have a free gift for our audience?
Well, if you go to my website at sscoulter.com, so that's where everything is. Again, it's SS and then COULTER. And I say SS, that's my name. It's Shannon Sue, but now we've got Planet Fassa, so I tell people it's Solar System Coulter. But if you go out there are links to free coloring pages and free word searches and some activities. And I'd love for you to go out and try them. And sometime in September or October, we will be beta testing that app. So if you're interested, head on out there and see if it's still open, because I'd love your moms to let me know what they like and don't like, so I can make it as easy as possible for people and as helpful as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Shannon. Ladies, I hope this has blessed you. So if your kids, she said maybe from ages 4 to 12. And then as the website evolves, then she'll have some things available for you as a mom too. So that's super awesome. And I'll have that information down in the description. But I hope this bless you, help you to say, hey, I want to make sure my kids are doing things using their imagination, being tech light or screen light, as they say, and still learning healthy habits and maybe teaching you too, because our kids teach us, right? They teach us as well. So make sure, if you haven't saved this episode, like I say, get yourself a pen, listen again, take notes, and share with the mom you love, and subscribe if you haven't. And leave a review if this bless you too. Until next time, take care. God bless. Thanks so much for joining me for the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to make yourself a priority too. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Share this podcast with another mama you love and leave a review. Also, feel free to let me know what you would like to hear about in future episodes by visiting me on Instagram at CIC Inspire Me. Until next time, take some time to take care of YOU, because you matter too.